The yearly line preview at the Gathering is one of the most exciting days of the year in the diecast world, and this year didn't disappoint. As usual, this roundup won't be a comprehensive list of everything in that presentation. Be sure to check out the Lamley livestream or David Tilley's post over on Wheel Collectors for that. Instead, I'll be focusing on the models that are most exciting to me or are otherwise interesting or noteworthy for the future of the brand. Since I wasn't able to attend the event in person, the pictures in this post are from a variety of diecast creators, all of whom are credited, so be sure to show them some love too. With the departure of Abe Lugo from the Matchbox team, the presentation was a little different this year. Gone was the sizzle video, replaced by a more traditional slideshow with renders of the cars wearing their final decos, or generic images from models with work-in-progress decos. Overall, I like this change. It gives us a better sense of what the final model will look like, and it tells us what mix the model will be released in, so we know how long we'll have to wait. So, without further ado, let's jump right in. The 2026 Mainline looks very promising, with a number of new enthusiast car castings and the reintroduction of some beloved older castings. There were even a few trucks that felt straight out of my childhood. The line will stay at 125 models for 2026, with a respectable 37 new tools. However, there was one thing that worried me throughout the presentation. Matchbox is introducing a new set of large truck wheels for 2026, and they were popping up a lot. I've consistently praised Matchbox over the last several years for their realistically proportioned SUVs and pickup trucks, but I noticed a number of new castings that are getting these giant new wheels. That's worrying, because I've always been bothered by the way that Hot Wheels ruins all of their truck castings by making them look like monster trucks, rather than the regular trucks you'd see driving around on the street. I hope that Matchbox's excitement over these new wheels fades after this year, and we don't see these new wheels start to dominate every new SUV and pickup truck casting. 2024 Audi RS3 Wagon. Praise be, we're finally getting an Audi RS3 in 1/64th scale. I've wanted an RS3 in my collection for years, and I've always been dumbfounded that nobody made a model of this crazy 5-cylinder hyper hatch. The closest I could find was the RS3 LMS from Tarmac Works, but my tastes have always trended toward factory-fresh road cars. Thanks to Matchbox, I'm finally getting my wish. Personally, I would have preferred the sedan over the hatchback, but I'm still happy to have this model either way, and I hope to see it debut in the Kyalami green color that was featured during the presentation. Also, did anyone else notice the typo in Matchbox's slideshow? You missed an S there, fellas. 2024 Audi RS5 Sportback. The RS3 wasn't the only new Audi to enter the Matchbox line for 2026, as the Audi RS5 Sportback is also coming next year. This one isn't quite as exciting since Hot Wheels already makes a model of the RS5, but Matchbox chose the right approach here. Where the Hot Wheels version is a two-door pre-facelift model, Matchbox chose to differentiate their casting by making a post-facelift four-door. I would have preferred to see the older 2013 B8.5 RS5 in the Matchbox line, but I'm still very excited to add another modern Audi to the lineup. It should make a great addition to the recent RS6 Avant and upcoming RS3. 2025 Aston Martin Vanquish. Of course, the Germans couldn't get all the attention. After all, Matchbox is originally a British company and they love to honor their British heritage. What better way than with an Aston Martin? The Vanquish is the first Aston Martin in several years that I've actually liked the look of, and therefore I think it's a great choice to bring to 1/64th scale. The prototype shown here is obviously a very early version, but I have high hopes for this one. It should pair nicely with the DB12 that will be released soon in the Collector series, though we can expect better wheels on this mainline version than on the premium DB12. 2024 Chevy Camaro ZL1 Convertible. It's always a treat when Matchbox chooses to make multiple generations of the same model, and what better way to celebrate the final year of the Camaro than with a new ZL1 casting. It's hard to tell for sure from the prototype, but I expect this to effectively be a modified version of the existing 2016 Camaro convertible casting. You can expect me to put them side by side to compare once I get this model in hand. That's not a criticism. That 2016 Camaro casting is excellent, and upgrading it to be an even cooler, higher performance model is a win in my book. From the presentation, we learned that the debut color will be based on the Panther Black metallic paint job from the final Collector's Edition Camaros, which is a semi-gloss paint that should look very cool, if the Matchbox team can pull it off. Thankfully, the presentation also shows this model getting full front and rear detailing. 2002 Mazda RX-7 Spirit R. Well, color me surprised, Matchbox is bringing the JDM heat with the pinnacle of the FD RX-7 lineup. Much like the RS5 Sportback, this is exactly the approach I want Matchbox to take when producing a model that's already in the Hot Wheels lineup. By making the Spirit R, Matchbox is able to differentiate their model and bring more variety to the 1/64th world. I love the silver paint job and red interior from the presentation, though I'm sure there's plenty of appetite for recolors in the future. The most exciting part about this casting is the new wheel design. Admittedly, they do look awfully familiar, but the Matchbox team has scaled down the popular 5-spokes to fit on some of the smaller import cars that have entered the range recently. I have to say, the result is a very trippy look on the prototype, because the casting ends up looking far too big, but I suspect that's just the smaller than usual wheels messing with my sense of scale. 2024 Honda Civic Type R. When Hot Wheels made their premium Civic Type R casting, I was disappointed that it was a spoon-modified version rather than the factory look. It seems Matchbox heard my complaints, because they're kicking off the 2026 Mainline with a Type R in the first mix of the year. While white is obviously the traditional color for a Civic Type R, I've always loved the bright blue version, so I couldn't be happier with this debut deco. Matchbox continues to impress with their ability to wrap headlight prints around onto the sides of their models, and the correct red interior is a nice touch as well. My one and only complaint about this casting, based on these pictures, is that it seems like it rides a bit too high. Perhaps a future version should get those new, smaller 5-spokes? Then again, the Civic Type R does have giant factory wheels. 1997 McLaren F1 GT. One of the more interesting updates the Matchbox team shared was that Hot Wheels designer Ron Wong has been helping design some Matchbox castings, so naturally he started with the McLaren F1. I must admit, I've been feeling some F1 fatigue lately, so I'm glad Matchbox decided to shake it up a bit with the GT version. In fact, I believe this is the first time we've seen an F1 GT in 1/64th scale. This clean green recolor with front and rear detailing is an excellent way to debut the model, though beware the length. From the look of the pictures Lamley Group posted, it may be too long to properly fit in the jammers cases so many of us use. 2024 BMW Z4 M40i. Insert joke here about how Matchbox already made this car because they make the Mark V Supra. This model didn't get much of a reaction at the gathering, but personally I'm pretty excited for it. I've always liked the look of the current generation Z4, and I think it's a criminally underappreciated car. Matchbox has been releasing some excellent convertible castings recently, so this seems like a great fit for the brand. I'd love to see it in the eggplant purple color featured in the presentation. 2024 Chevrolet Silverado PPV Truck. Following in the footsteps of the Ram 1500 police truck, we now get the Chevy version. The formula sounds the same, bash bar on the front and a light bar on the top, and honestly, I'm into it. While they're not super common in my neck of the woods, pickup trucks like this are used fairly frequently by rural police departments, and it's always exciting to get a chance to grow my diecast police fleets. However, I do wonder if we're starting to have a few more police castings than we really need. After all, just last year saw the release of a new Charger and new Explorer police casting, and neither has seen all that much action yet. 2025 Ford Mustang Police. Matchbox certainly didn't think we had enough police car castings though. They decided to also add a Mustang police car to the mix, complete with a bash bar and a light bar. The prototype actually looks pretty good, but I'm just not as into the idea of this casting as I am the Silverado. I know there are a few police departments that use Mustangs as police cars, but I've never seen one in real life, and I can't help but feel like it would have been better to use this production slot for a more interesting new casting. That said, I know the California Highway Patrol has a few Mustangs in their fleet, so hopefully this at least gives me an opportunity to expand my CHP collection. It's been far too long since we've seen a CHP deco on a Matchbox model. 2025 Jeep Recon. The Recon isn't a particularly interesting or exciting casting in and of itself, but I wanted to include this casting because I was surprised to see Matchbox doubling down on their clear plastic roof design that so many collectors hated in the Land Rover Defender 90 casting. I wasn't as bothered by it as so many others were, but I have to admit that the clear prototype version of this casting looks rough. That said, the deco preview from the presentation shows it with a tinted roof, which should make the effect much more convincing. I'm still not sure that this will be a popular casting though. 1993 Toyota Celica All-Track. Unlike the Recon, this Celica is virtually guaranteed to be one of the most popular models in its case. The casting itself looks fantastic, with great proportions, lots of detailing, and even white wheels. Plus, it benefits from multiple overlapping layers of desirability: JDM, Radwood, and the normal cars that Matchbox is famous for. I expect this to be a hard one to get your hands on. 1997 Toyota RAV4 Off-Road. The Celica wasn't the only new Toyota featured, because we also got a look at a production-ready prototype of the 97 RAV4. It's hard to pick a car that screams Matchbox more than this. It's a dorky looking off-roader with stubby proportions and a strong cult following, which makes it surprising that we didn't see it sooner. Dare I say this paint color looks a bit too dark though? Whenever I picture a RAV4 from this era, I picture it in a sun-faded light blue. 2022 Honda S660. This cute little Honda K car is the spiritual successor to the Honda Beat, and I want one. Sadly, as an American, the Matchbox version is probably as close as I'll ever come to getting one. There's a lot of potential for this to be a super cool casting, as long as they can avoid making it too big like the AutoZam AZ1. The S660 is a small car, and it should look like one. 1994 Jeep Cherokee. The Jeep Cherokee is another model that I'm surprised took this long to make its way to the Matchbox lineup. As one of the most iconic American cars of all time and one of the original SUVs, it's a perfect fit for Matchbox. The prototype version shown at the gathering was a very early 3D print, so it's hard to get too much of a sense of the casting, but I hope the wheels don't end up being too big, as the Cherokee shouldn't look like a monster truck. 2023 Chevrolet Tahoe Z71. I have mixed feelings about this mainline Tahoe. On the one hand, I love the moving parts Tahoe casting. On the other hand, I don't really understand why we needed another, only slightly different Tahoe casting in the mainline. I'm just not sure it's an interesting enough car for that, and I would rather have seen this slot used for something like an Escalade. That said, if the execution is as good as the moving parts version, this should be a cool model and worth adding at least an example or two to your collection. There was a prototype shown, but I haven't been able to find a particularly good picture of it yet. From what I can tell, it looks to be scaled pretty similarly to the moving parts Tahoe. 2024 GMC Sierra Wrecker. Usually I don't get too excited about utility trucks like this, but this GMC Sierra caught my attention. It's fully licensed and even has a moving tow arm, so it can actually tow around other Matchbox models. This kind of play value has been rare in recent years, and this model reminded me of the old GMC Wrecker tow truck from my childhood. Based on the presentation, it looks like this model will be receiving a full front deco in addition to its side detailing, which should make this model feel fairly complete. You can expect to see this one make a number of appearances on my Instagram once I get my hands on it. Freightliner Dump Truck. This is another casting that feels straight out of my childhood. The dump actually moves, which adds a ton of play value, and the casting itself is licensed. Licensed castings are a rarity for construction equipment like this, but seeing an actual Freightliner cab on this model elevates this truck even more. This is how you make a kid-friendly model that doesn't have to be a peg warmer. Those are all the most exciting new castings, but we also saw a number of new recolors for existing castings that look very cool, as well as some final decos on castings that will be releasing in the latter half of 2025. 2001 Acura Integra Type R. There's no sugarcoating this one. I have absolutely no idea what Matchbox was thinking when they decided to make the Integra Type R a chase. The original mainline version was so hard to track down that it functionally became a chase for most collectors anyway, so reducing the number for the recolor feels almost insulting. The chase is an unknown color at this time, and good luck to anyone who's trying to track one down. 2023 Chevy Corvette Z06 Convertible. The last time we saw a prototype of this casting, I was trying to figure out whether it was an E-Ray or a Z06, and now we know that it's a Z06. The only version mentioned in the presentation was the Walmart exclusive themed mix version with a rather ugly deco on it, but there was also a rather fetching black example on display after the presentation. The black version looks great, with a simple front and rear deco and no extraneous side graphics. I'm not sure about the red lips on the wheels, but I don't hate them either. 2019 Mercedes-Benz AMG GT63S, Target Red Edition. Just when I thought we'd never see this casting again, it reappears from the dead. Lest you think I'm being dramatic, this casting has been gone since 2021. It even earned a spot on my top 5 list of castings that deserve to make a comeback, so I'm thrilled to see it not just coming back, but finally getting a bright colored paint job. This model should look great in red, and it'll absolutely be a must-have model for me. Porsche Cayman. The Porsche Cayman also gets a fresh red paint job, but not as a red edition. This long-absent casting is returning for a European-themed Walmart exclusive mix. The white Porsche graphics at the bottom of the door look cool, but I have a bad feeling that those graphics are coming at the expense of rear detailing. Porsche 911 Carrera Cabriolet. Now that's a paint color. This was my favorite new casting from 2024, and I'm thrilled to see it returning in what appears to be Riviera Blue. This will be in the same Walmart exclusive mix as the Cayman, but unlike the Cayman, it appears that this 911 will retain its front and rear detailing, making this likely the new definitive version of this casting. BMW Walmart exclusive themed set. We don't have any confirmation on decos yet, so we don't know which of these models will be new and which will be repeats, if any, but I hope this set will bring about a recolor of the excellent BMW M2 casting. It's also nice to see the BMW 1M casting back in action. Curiously, the presentation also refers to the 3 Series Touring as an M3 and as a 2013 model year, when it's always previously been released as a 2012 3 Series. Was this a typo, or the reveal of a new casting? Italian Roads 5-pack. I don't normally cover the 5-packs in these roundups, but the Italian Roads pack is noteworthy because it includes the expected blue recolor of the Maserati MC12 and the unexpected return of the Alfa Romeo 4C in yellow. I know some collectors don't like the 4C casting, and I admit it's a bit too big, but I'm still happy to see it back in such a fun color. 8-packs. Like the 5-packs, I normally skip over the 8-packs, but this year's selection seems tailor-made to pry my money away from me. The first pack of the year includes my favorite casting of all time, the Lotus Evora, in what appears to be either gray or purple. It's followed by a green recolor of the also excellent Volvo V60 wagon. Luckily for my wallet, the remainder of the exclusives are less exciting, though the final 8-pack does feature what appears to be a re-release of the champagne-colored Aston Martin DBS Volante. That's a lot to be excited for, and that's just the basics. With that, let's move on to the moving parts line. This year's moving parts line will feature 50 models once again, with 23 new tools. With so many new tools this year, I can't help but think that Matchbox should expand the case size of the moving parts line from 8 to 10 or maybe even 12. That would not only bring more variety to the pegs and help reduce the peg warmer problem, but it would also allow the growing roster of existing castings to get more use. For now, let's focus on the new stuff. 2024 Lexus IS 500. This one is straight off my wish list for this year's lineup, even down to the blue vector paint job. The prototype looks epic, with full front and rear detailing and a full print under the hood to show off the 5-liter V8. The detailing around the headlights and hood looks impressively sharp, and the IS's distinctive flare in the rear door is well replicated. I just hate that I have to wait months to be able to get my hands on one. 2024 Acura Integra Type S HRC. The Integra Type S was also on my wish list, though I had hoped to see the standard road car rather than this HRC concept car. I believe that Matchbox is making a mistake in choosing the HRC version because history teaches us that one of two things will happen when a diecast company chooses to model a concept car. Option 1, the concept car never gets made, and the future recolor potential for this casting is limited as a result. Or option 2, a production version of the concept car does get made, but it looks different from the concept car and the resulting casting looks off for the rest of its lifetime, much like the original Hot Wheels Bugatti Veyron. Mercifully, the Acura Integra Type S HRC doesn't look that far off of the standard road car, and the debut yellow deco does look promising. I suspect this model was a passion project for one of the designers because it's clear that a lot of work went into the little details on this casting. The model even has a tire rack in place of a back seat, just like the concept car. 2024 McLaren GTS. What does it say about the state of McLaren's lineup that I completely forgot this car existed? McLaren's overly similar product offerings aside, this casting has the potential to be very cool. We need more supercars like this in the lineup, and McLaren has historically been underrepresented by Matchbox, so I'm glad to see a new model that hasn't already been produced by Hot Wheels. I'm not sure how to feel about the opening hatch. The fitment and body lines on the prototype look promising, but the fitment on that opening hatch is really going to be make or break for this model. This is one that'll have to wait to get in hand before really deciding how to feel about it. 2025 Bentley Batur Coupe. The Bentley Batur is both a cool and confusing choice for a new model. The car itself is beautiful, and Matchbox's history of making great Bentley castings gives me faith that the final model will look realistic. However, Matchbox already has a Bentley Continental moving parts casting that has only seen a single use all the way back in early 2023. Why not release a recolor of that casting, rather than creating an entirely new Bentley model? As excited as I am for the Batur, I also don't want that excellent Continental casting to be forgotten about. 2024 Maserati MC20 Cielo. There was no prototype of this casting, because the Matchbox team is still trying to figure out how to make the doors work. If they can figure it out, this model has the potential to be very cool. Granted, Hot Wheels already has a good MC20 casting, so I think Matchbox has the right approach by making the convertible version to help differentiate their model. Plus, crazy supercar doors like the MC20 has are among the only times when I think opening doors are actually a worthwhile addition to a model. Matchbox claims the MC20 is coming in Mix G, but I fully expect this model to be delayed, as is tradition for models with complicated doors. 2025 BMW M5 Touring. As a cool, European wagon, this new M5 Touring is a great fit for the Matchbox brand. The prototype looks really promising, with an opening hood that thankfully means we don't get any opening doors to disrupt the look of the side of the casting. I don't mind the window piece being used to form the panoramic roof from a design standpoint, but it might reduce the M5's weight a little more than would be realistic. After all, it would only be fitting for this to be one of the heaviest models of the year. 1975 Lancia Stratos. I've never liked the Hot Wheels Stratos casting, so I'm thrilled to see a Matchbox version in the near future. Matchbox has a history of making models with more realistic proportions, and this casting is another Ron Wong creation, so I have high hopes for it. The rear engine compartment will open to show off the engine, which should look very cool provided they can get the fitment right. 1994 Lotus Esprit Sport 300. I'll confess that this wasn't the Lotus I was hoping to see, that would be the Amira, but it does feel like a good fit for Matchbox. The yellow paint color with full front and rear detailing looks great, and the prototype version of this casting looks quite a bit more accurate than the old Hot Wheels Esprit. As a lover of Lodi, I expect to pick up at least the debut version of this model. Lamborghini Huracan Storado. There wasn't much in the way of new recolors shown off this year, but we did finally get a look at the production-ready version of the Lamborghini Huracan Storado. I'll be honest, my expectations for this casting were pretty low based on the fairly rough look of many of the prototypes we had seen. After seeing this final deco version, I'm absolutely blown away. Not only does the scale look fairly accurate, but the level of detailing is incredible. I've always been disappointed by the lackluster detailing on the Hot Wheels mainline Storado, and this Matchbox absolutely embarrasses that model. It looks to have detailing on the front, back, sides, and roof. Matchbox's decision to debut this casting in green is just icing on the cake, since it means this model doesn't directly replace either the orange or white models that Hot Wheels has already released. The Collectors Series. Perhaps the most exciting news about the Collectors Series is the mere fact of its existence in the 2026 line. Given how few stores even carry the line anymore, I suspected we might not see the line continue, but it seems like Matchbox isn't quite ready to give up on their premium line yet. The 2026 Collectors line will consist of 24 models, with a total of 8 new castings. 2024 Ford GT Mark II. This model got a lot of applause at the gathering, but I'm honestly not that excited about it. I've always preferred when Matchbox models factory cars and clean decos, so a race car from Matchbox just isn't something I feel is needed. The bigger problem is the casting itself, which just looks off to me. It looks a bit too big and a bit too tall, and I can't help but feel like the Hot Wheels version of the Ford GT Race is just a better casting. 1990 Chevy Corvette ZR1. It's about time the C4 Corvette got some diecast love, and this ZR1 is the coolest C4 of them all. Given this car's forward-opening clamshell hood, I would argue it probably would have been a better fit for the moving parts line, but at least the higher deco budget for the collector line allows for printed detailing on all sides. Mazda AutoZam AZ1. The existing mainline AZ1 casting has always felt a bit too big to me, so I've never really liked it that much. I was surprised to see the same model coming to the collector's line with opening doors, but I hoped that would at least mean the Matchbox team was fixing the mainline casting's sins. I was wrong. The new AZ1 casting looks even bigger than the old one, to the point where it looks like it will dwarf some of the SUVs in the Matchbox lineup. That's a shame, because the AZ1 really is a cool little car. 2025 Bugatti Tourbillon. Just a few short years ago, it would have seemed impossible that we would ever have 2 Bugattis in the Matchbox lineup, yet here we are. While I would have preferred to see the Veyron Vitesse, the Tourbillon is undoubtedly a cool car too, and one that we haven't seen before in 1/64th scale. The prototype looks promising, with an impressive sharpness to the lines in the front end and decent proportions. Unfortunately, as with many of the collector's models, I expect this model to feel held back by its wheels. That's actually been one of my biggest disappointments with the collector's series over the past few years. Matchbox just doesn't have good premium wheels, and as a result the premium wheels so often feel like a downgrade over their less expensive mainline counterparts. Matchbox has been copying the Hot Wheels strategy of using metal bases in their premium cars, which isn't inherently a bad thing, but it prevents these models from being used in the mainline where they could both get better wheel designs and more recolors. If I could give the Matchbox team one piece of advice, I would implore them to modify some of these premium casting designs to give them a plastic base for mainline and moving parts use. I would love to see cool castings like the Subaru BRZ or Aston Martin DB12 get more releases where they wouldn't be held back by their wheel designs. The Nissan GTR Nismo is the perfect case study. It was originally released as a collector's model, but its plastic base allowed it to be used in the Japan-exclusive moving parts mix. That red moving parts version is far superior to the premium version. That's it for this year's line preview. Despite some concerns with parts of the Matchbox strategy, this is still shaping up to be one of the most exciting years ever for the brand. There are so many cool new models that I can't wait to get my hands on, and you can expect to see full features on many of them right here once I do. As a reminder, despite this being my longest video ever, this list isn't comprehensive. There was even more covered in the full preview presentation, so I urge you to head over to the Lamley YouTube channel and watch the full version for yourself. I'll be updating my list of upcoming Matchbox models with all this new information over the coming days, so keep an eye on that page, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more diecast content. Thanks for watching, and as always, if you prefer your diecast content in written form, check out my blog at diecastleno.com.